Craziest crimes of all time, part 1. Florida man was arrested for throwing an alligator through a Wendy's drive-through window. You know, I actually have a joke for this one, but it's kind of corny. See you later, alligator! A woman in Texas was arrested after trying to buy a mother's infant child for $500,000 in a Walmart checkout line. $500,000? Are you kidding me?
A boy named Gilbert in 1914 threw a tennis ball that got stuck way up in an archway of the Lincoln Cathedral. Nobody knew it was there until that same boy's nephew wrote a letter to the cathedral staff jokingly asking for it back 90 years later in 2005. Margaret from Kentucky became addicted to bee stings after using them to relieve her arthritis pain, eventually escalating to 15 stings a day and over 50,000 in total. This Malaysian man, nicknamed the Magnetic Man, had a seemingly magnetic body that attracted metallic objects. His sons and grandchildren also had this trait, which made him think it was hereditary. This other Malaysian man has the world's most powerful teeth, and this is him using those teeth to pull a 300-ton train over 10 feet. The Hawaiian singer Israel Kamakawiwo'ole's famous version of Somewhere Over the Rainbow was recorded in one take. He called a local studio in Hawaii at 3 in the morning and begged them to let him in because he said he needed to record something immediately.
This father who murdered his 2 teenage daughters because they started dating finally had his first interview in prison and denied everything and said it was all a conspiracy. I went over this case and his recent interview on my YouTube channel if you want to check it out. On New Year's in 2008, 18-year-old Sarah Saeed used her last breath to call police and let them know that her dad had just shot her and she was dying. Beside her was her deceased older sister Amina, who was also shot by their father. But this didn't just happen out of nowhere. Growing up, these 2 girls endured a lot of abuse from their father. When they were 7 and 8 years old, they told their mother that their father was essaying them. But eventually nothing happened and the case got dropped. Things only got worse as they got older. Their father became more controlling and perverted. Their father would follow them and take videos of them everywhere they went, especially when they went to work. At one point, he took Amina to Egypt to try to marry her off to an older man, but luckily that didn't go through. But one day, he lost it when he found out that his daughters were dating and he threatened to take their lives. At this point, the girls were fed up, terrified, and decided to run away with their mother. But taking their mother with them wasn't the best decision because eventually Patricia wanted to go back to Yasser. She then promised Amina and Sarah that nothing would happen if they returned home, but that wasn't the case. The girls were convinced that their father was going to eventually take their lives, so they left a lot of evidence, including emails and letters to teachers about what was going on at home. When they went home, their father offered to take them out to talk and resolve things, but on January 1st, 2008, he shot them multiple times while they sat in the back of his taxi. Yasser fled for 12 years, but now that he's been in prison for 4 years, he still denies taking his daughter's lives. Throughout this recent interview, he gets frustrated and blames the FBI for pinning the murders on him and says that all the evidence against him isn't true.
Here's some fun facts you may have not wanted to know. But after this video, you'll know. So if you've heard somebody say honey never goes bad, it doesn't. Because there's not enough water in the honey for microorganisms to live on. So that honey you may have thrown away because it's been sitting in your cabinet for 3 years? It was good. On to the next.
Wow.
Ants go to war. Similar to humans, and they actually have some crazy strategies. For example, they'll put the weak ones in the front to protect the strong ones in the back. This one is crazy. These conjoined twin sisters actually share a brain. But not only that, they can hear each other's thoughts, and they can see out of each other's eyes. I've seen this one before, and it's a no for me. I have stage fright. So this is called a public semi-transparent toilet. You cannot see in, but you can see out. No. On to the next.
No.
Sunflowers can clean up radioactive waste. Sunflowers are good at eating up pollutants, especially radioactive metal contaminants, and they store all the waste in their stems. In the Antarctic, there are no spiders. That is all. So when Ashton Kutcher was 13 years old, he tried to commit suicide by jumping off a hospital balcony, all because he wanted to save his brother and donate his heart. For all my duck-feeding people, don't feed them bread. It fills up their stomach and they end up getting no nutrients from the bread anyways. And the bread also causes malnourishment. So when lions get injured, they can have mane loss. So when a lion sees a male with a long mane, they avoid fighting with him because they think he is stronger at combat. That's all, folks.
I think the fact that got to me was that there's a bathroom where you can see outside but people can't see you. Would you guys be brave enough to use that one? That's a no for me. I can't do that, bro. Like she said, stage fright. I'm good.
Some trees can actually grow inside of your lungs. In Russia, doctors performed surgery on a man named Artyom Sidorkin, suspecting that he had a cancerous tumor in his lungs. Instead of a tumor, though, they found a 5-centimeter fir tree branch inside of his lung. Doctors believe that Sidorkin accidentally swallowed a fir tree bud, which later grew into a branch. The probability of dying on your birthday is higher than any other day. There is actually a 14% chance of dying on your birthday than any other day. This is a shocking phenomenon called the birthday effect, which may be due to extra stress, drinking more, or people engaging in risky behaviors on their birthdays. A devil's chair exists in many cemeteries. In various cemeteries around the world, there are stone chairs called devil's chairs. These chairs were often used by mourners to sit and grieve, but legends and superstitions have given them a sinister reputation. Some stories claim that if you sit in one at midnight, the devil himself will appear. You are more likely to be bitten by someone in New York City than you are to be bitten by a shark. There could be someone secretly living in your wall or attic without you even knowing it. It's called frogging, and people say that it's becoming more and more common. So if you hear strange noises, notice things missing or moved, or your box of Frosted Flakes cereal is all of a sudden empty, there could be a frogger living in your home.
Gruesome
Check for froggers, bro.
You'll be glad you weren't around for. Part 1. The brazen bull execution was a method used in ancient Greece where a flame at the bottom roasted you to death, and the head of the bull was designed in such a way that your screams would be filtered and contorted into the sounds of a real bull. On pirate ships, workers who refused to follow orders would be hung by their nails. Another method used by pirates was called keel hauling, in which the men were dragged onto the ship until they died. And if this wasn't bad enough, the ship's hull was covered in barnacles so the man would be cut up as he drowned. Scaphism was an ancient Persian torture technique where criminals were stripped naked, tied to a boat, and then force-fed honey and milk until they got diarrhea, were covered in more honey, and set adrift in the ocean. This would then attract insects that would slowly but surely eat the men to death.
Dumbest ways people have died.
That's bad.
In 1880, the Queen of Thailand's boat capsized on the way to her palace, but despite many witnesses, nobody dared to save the drowning queen and her daughter. This was because touching the queen under any circumstances was a crime punishable by death. Bobby Leach was a world-renowned daredevil who became the second person to go over Niagara Falls in a barrel. A few years later, he died from a vicious infection after slipping on an orange peel. In 1996, a man named Michael Paul was on his way home from church when he decided to crack his neck just like any other time. But a few afterwards, he suddenly started sweating profusely and then went pale. By the time Michael was brought to a hospital, he had already slipped into a coma and died after 12 days of being on life support. An autopsy later revealed that the neck crack must have damaged one of the main arteries to his brain and resulted in a fatal stroke.
The man who took this 22-year-old's life while she went on a jog was finally sentenced. Laken Riley went on a jog on the morning of February 22nd, 2024, when suddenly her friends noticed that her location was stuck on the same spot. Laken was a nursing student at the University of Georgia, and she had a specific route that she ran on campus that her friends knew about. But while on her jog, little did she know that this man was lurking around campus looking for his first victim. Jose Ibarra woke up very early, dressed in all black, and went to campus to try to find a woman to R. He was even seen on surveillance walking around campus from 6 a.m. until 9 a.m. before he spotted Laken. When he saw Laken, it was said that he tried to take her clothes off and essay her, but she fought back, and that's why he took her life. While this was going on, Laken's roommates noticed that her location was stuck on a certain spot, so they went out to look for her. Unfortunately, they weren't able to find her, but they called police and then they located Laken a few hours later. Beautiful Laken passed away from blunt force trauma and asphyxiation. However, Laken was able to put up a fight and they found his DNA under her fingernails. This monster was charged, and as of today, he was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
I traveled halfway
Always
around
be
the world
aware,
looking for the
man.
baby elephant. Everybody talking Mudang. Let me tell you about Jun. Jun is a registered threat to human welfare and the cutest thing I've ever had to run away from. This was in the Elephant Nature Park in Chiang Mai, Thailand. Home to elephants rescued and rehabilitated from places like elephant riding camps, logging companies, etc. Including 9-month-old wrecking ball on 4 legs, baby Jun. Jun be wanting to play. You got to tell her no, but she don't listen. You think I'm kidding, but imagine an 1,800-pound toddler trying to wrestle you without realizing you're basically a glass build to them. Don't tell me she didn't know what she was doing, because she kept acting cute in my face only to try to bum rush me from behind. She also ate my poncho. Like right off my chest, to be fair. Wearing green around multiple plus-size lawnmowers was a choice. And the crazy thing is, I'll let her do it again. She wasn't the only one I met. There were others, like this young lady, Gumpung. And when I say young, I'm talking 51 trips around the sun. Basically, this place is a retirement home for elephants that have been exploited by people. It's gotta be the most ethical elephant sanctuary on earth, because everything is on their time. Trying to go for a walk, but an elephant says snack time, then it's snack time. No further discussion. And if you get caught in the rain because an elephant chooses self-care, you're just gonna have to meditate on that. So yeah, I love this place, I love everything they stand for, and now here's the sad part. They actually flooded, but like the worst one in a while for a place that's used to it. And yeah, elephants can swim, but a lot of them are disabled and some of them are blind, so yeah, it's been a struggle. And I'm sorry to kill the vibe, but 2 of them didn't make it. Alright, so the real reason for this, they need help. There's an emergency flood relief for the sanctuary and they really need donations, so I'm gonna put it here and I'm gonna put it there. I'm not being paid for this. They didn't ask me to do this, don't sponsor, nothing. Just that they've helped a lot in the world and right now they need that help back, so the more you know.
Hey man, that's freaking sad story, bro. Elephant freaking rescue sanctuary. That looks like an amazing place to actually go to too. You need to help them out, seekers. Looks like a place I want to go to one day. That's an edit, bro. We experts at this now. We can call them out. Any edits, y'all call them out with me, man.
Forbidden places that you can never visit. Number 1, Area 51 is a highly classified US Air Force facility that has been associated with UFOs, strange government cover-ups, and potentially testing alien technology. Although no one knows for sure what exactly goes on here, what we do know is that the facility itself is actually quite small. But the restricted area in total is about 90,000 acres of land. Next, Banga Fort is said to be the most haunted place in India. According to legend, there was a beautiful princess named Ratnavati and she lived in this fort. Many men wanted her hand in marriage, one of whom was a black magician named Singya. The princess, however, rejected Singya and he laid a curse on the fort which haunts it till this day. There have been numerous stories of people who entered the fort at night and were never seen again. As a result, people have been banned from entering the fort at night. Finally, the Bohemian Grove. The Bohemian Grove is said to be a secret group of very powerful people. It's alleged that many presidents and business leaders are part of this group. Every year they meet up in the woods and perform strange rituals, such as setting fire to a big owl statue. No one else is allowed to go in or take any photos. But a filmmaker named Ron Johnson once snuck a camera inside, and he presumably caught the world's most powerful men doing all of these strange things. For more,
These
Caught
are
him
the
in
creepiest
4K.
unsolved photo mysteries. The Baltic Sea anomaly is known for being one of the most famous underwater mysteries on Earth. This sonar image from 2011 shows a large structure located at the bottom of the ocean. And if you're a Star Wars fan, it may look a little familiar to you. Many people believe that it could be a sunken UFO, or an ancient man-made structure that was lost to history. That, or Han Solo decided to move there and live his life in peace. Next, in 2016, a woman named Linda sent Belfast Live a disturbing photo that was taken from the year 1990. The photo shows a group of women in a factory with their arms crossed. One of these women was Linda's grandmother, Ellen Donnelly, and if you look closely at her shoulder, you can see a disembodied hand hovering over her. The photo quickly spread through the media, even making it to Snopes where they were unable to debunk it. So always look over your shoulder. And finally, many people believe that the Madonna, or the White Lady, was caught on camera back in 1991 at the Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. On this night, Judy Huff Fells decided to take a stroll in one of the most haunted cemeteries in America, along with the local Ghost Research Society, when they felt an odd presence nearby. And when she took out her infrared camera and snapped a photo, she could see a woman sitting on a stone. And this is why you shouldn't wander around a cemetery at night.
I won't be.
I knew this day was coming, I just didn't know when. Let's talk about paratongues. Awful, isn't it? You know, if you unfollowed me, I wouldn't even blame you. It's on the tip of my tongue. What is a xenomorph? Satan's back scratcher? A plumbus? My eyes will never get over yourself, man. Human arrogance is the only reason you think this is weird. You got hands, 2 of them actually, I hope. Well, some don't. You know, some like the lorikeet, nature had to get creative. Green is not a creative cult. So lorikeets feed on nectar from flowers. Pretty hard to do that without fingers, so nature went ahead and put the fingers on their tongue, which helps them grab nectar, pollen, seeds, grain, and most importantly for analytics, your attention. Also, most parrots have a bone running through their tongue, which makes them even more of a forbidden finger that can grab and manipulate objects. Pause. Do I need to say pause? It's a parrot. It's also why parrots are the only animals that can mimic human speech and not have to pay taxes. What's up? I meant one of the only. Alright, my bad. You know, everyone's freaking out over the tongue. If you think that's bad, scroll. Scroll hard, scroll now. 3, 2, this is choanal papillae. It helps them with eating. It's actually a sign of a healthy bird, and it is the worst. Moral of this video, dinosaurs really had the wildest rebrand of all time. The more you wish you didn't know.
I never knew a parrot's tongue was like that. Learn new things every day, bro, watching these videos with you guys. So they have their fingers on their tongues. Interesting.
Beauty products used to look like torture devices. They used to use these to shield their skin from the sun before sunscreen was invented. These 1921 masks were meant to get rid of wrinkles. This mask was meant to give you a rosy complexion. Or my favorite, the warming mask for your face and skin. Terrifying.
This is all of the celebrity news today, but it's going to be simplified in 60 seconds. Ariana Grande is now paying Dalton Gomez $1.2 million in a divorce settlement. The new Travis Scott tour tickets are reselling as low as $7 because literally nobody is buying them. Dwayne Johnson, obviously The Rock, just addressed the Maui Fund backlash and said he could have done better. A bunch of fans are now thinking that Drake was shading Rihanna in the new song Fear of Heights. I haven't heard it, so I don't know. Jaden Smith just disclosed that she and Will Smith have been separated for years. Elon Musk just saved Amber Heard's role in the upcoming Aquaman 2 movie. We already know the drama on this. It's Cardi B's birthday, so a happy birthday. IShowSpeed was just officially unbanned from Twitch. Bad Bunny will be releasing his new album this Friday for anybody that listens. Taylor Swift is now planning on making a surprise appearance at the Eras Tour film premiere. So if you haven't heard already, Taylor Swift movie The Tour is coming out soon. I post these daily news roundups every single day so you guys can get the news without having to watch it. So make sure you add me on the side of your screen so you can come back to me tomorrow. Also, I want to know which one of these was your favorite and which ones you actually care about. And go watch my other videos.
This
Nah,
is the
those
case of
played
the girl
out.
that vanished into thin air. Her name is Yuki Onishi. On April 29th of 2005, 5-year-old Yuki was out celebrating Greenery Day with her mother. It's a national holiday in Japan, and what they do is they go out, they celebrate nature, and they collect bamboo shoots. So Yuki, her mom, and 60 other people were out doing this. Yuki was so excited that she found her first bamboo shoot, she showed her mother, and then she ran off to find more. That's when she disappeared and was never seen from again. When they realized that she was nowhere to be found, they actually brought in search dogs and the police. This is where it gets really strange. The dogs followed her scent to the middle of the forest and then just stopped. The scent stopped in the middle of the forest as if she had just disappeared into thin air from that spot. To this day, she has never been found and no one knows what happened. If you want to hear some theories, come back for part 2.
What happened? She just disappeared. That was a high quality edit. Or with AI mixed in it too. My eyes, bro. Like I said, I can start to freaking point them out, man. I think I'm at expert level. What level y'all at?
Hey bro, you know what's always
fascinated me. The fact that if you're pretty and talented, you can get away with anything. Like, y'all remember when Ariana dated this dude? People were like, no, hold up. Ain't bro married Ariana? Ariana said, what's the problem? They said, well, we not gonna stand for this. Ariana said, well, then do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, girl could sing, though. And there it was. I think there was more to the story, but that's not the point. The point is, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie got away with this times 10 back in the day. Y'all remember that? See, back in the day, Brad Pitt was dating this girl named Jennifer Aniston, and this was a huge deal because celebrities back then were like massive compared to how they are now. He was like the king of movies, she was like the queen of TV. But then he started doing this movie called Mr. and Mrs. Smith. They said, damn, that's not Jennifer. They said, no, bro, it's just a movie. That's Angelina Jolie. Well, they're kind of close, though. The director said, that's because they're really good actors. They be getting locked in. I ain't even asked her to do this, and she started doing it. I said, well, what about this? The director said, that wasn't in the script. So rumors start flying around, but people ignore them because Brad was with Jennifer for like 7 years. Jennifer goes, look, my life is perfect. We think about having kids, like everything good. Brad goes, Jennifer, can we talk over here for a second? They come back. Jennifer goes, we getting a divorce. Now, they came out, though, and they said it was mutual. They both wanted it and all that. And, well, a few months later, Jennifer comes out and says, yo, that's kind of weird. So they interview Angelina Jolie. The interviewer goes, damn. Angelina goes, appreciate you. What you mean, though, Shawty? The interviewer goes, how'd you like shooting Mr. and Mrs. Smith? She said, ooh, Lord, man, I could not wait to go to work. I couldn't wait to go. The interviewer goes, let me stop you right there. I think we got everything. At this point, people would still say, no, y'all, it's just the movie that they shot together. They came out and said, nah, we together. So they interviewed Jennifer. They go, girl, I'm so sorry. She goes, it's not a problem. We got a divorce. He can do whatever he wants. I said, damn, you must not have heard. She said, heard what? Somebody said, she ain't heard. She said, heard what? They said, Angelina did another interview. And here's where it starts to get wicked. See, Angelina did another interview where she said, yo, I love being single. At one point, I was seeing two dudes at the same time. She said, one of my little side pieces I met 3 years ago. We had dinner. She said, 3 years ago, listen closely, I, Angelina, was married. So I told him I don't want to do nothing. The interviewer said, now that's decent. She said, yeah, so anyway, I called him 3 years later and I said, hey bro, you want to be my lover? The interviewer said, I don't see nothing wrong with that girl. She said, yo, well then we had to discuss how we was going to do it because we didn't want to hurt anybody. I always fall in love when I do a movie. Everybody started connecting the dots. They said, Mr. and Mr. Smith, you talking about Brad Pitt? Jennifer straight up comes out and says, what? Nah, that's not it. Everybody said, that's not it. Y'all tripping. And everybody watched the movie. They said, man, they're pretty good though. Everybody started saying stuff like that. And let's be real, they probably acted so hard that they just fell in love. Who's like, yeah, that makes sense. Brad comes out and says, yeah, and really though, my last marriage was boring. Everybody said, what? Said, no, I didn't mean it like that. Shout out to Jennifer. Now, to be fair, Brad Pitt was talking about an art piece when he said this, and he's really interesting when it comes to art. Jennifer Aniston puts it perfectly. She said, Brad Pitt would never say that to hurt me. He just has a sensitivity chip missing. Which kind of reminds me of how Kanye West justified many things that hurt his marriage because they were art. Anyway, that's really it. Jennifer lived happily ever after. Brad and Angelina lived happily ever after. Wait, they got a divorce actually, but I mean, I think they're happy.
If ghosts are not real, then how do you explain this?
Those are dogs, bro. You see through that? Man, those celebrity marriages, bro, they be insane. I can't be the only one who thinks that, right? Seekers, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're true seekers seeking the truth. I greatly appreciate the support. Like I said, comment down below, hit that post notification bell, hit that thumbs up button. You guys are going to catch me in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.
Everything that happened at Trump's inauguration. Before it even started, both pro and anti-Trump demonstrations kicked off in Washington, with one side even bringing a guillotine. All the guests started to arrive, which included the likes of Show Chu, Joe Rogan, Tim Cook, Jeffrey Bezos, Obama, without Michelle, the Paul brothers, Conor McGregor, Senator John Fetterman, who casually turns up in a hoodie and gym shorts in the middle of winter, and of course, Zuck, who got caught in 8K, 120 FPS. They said bro was looking at Silicon Valley. Oh, and while the inauguration in the United States was beginning, so too was the one in Nigeria. While waiting for the event to begin, Elon was either, I don't know, rebooting or sending out a tweet with his Neuralink. This was Melania's POV for the entire day. And when it was time for everyone to take their seats, Theo Von's collapsed. After which he said, J.D. Vance was sworn in as the vice president with his right hand up and his left hand on the Bible. And then when it was Donald Trump's turn, he only put his right hand up. So he either forgot or just didn't put his left hand on the Bible as is customary. And after, once it became official, Trump then gives his speech where he says a number of things like, the golden age of America begins right now, that as of today, the official policy of the United States government is that there's only 2 genders, that America will plant their flag on Mars, that they will drill baby drill, take back the Panama Canal, push for a colorblind merit-based society, and rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Once the inauguration after party began, we got Mike Tyson on Jake Paul's shoulders, Elon Musk sending the internet into a frenzy after doing this. We got Trump dancing with a sword, Trump and Elon moving their body to music. Oh, and hyper-realistic footage of what Baron Trump looked like all day. Trump then went on to sign a huge number of executive orders, which I will go through in a part 2 in a couple of hours.
Worst ways people have died. In 2008, 17-year-old Asia LaShawn Ferguson was riding the Batman ride at the Six Flags amusement park when his hat flew off his head. After getting off the ride, he scaled 2 fences and entered a restricted area in an attempt to retrieve his hat. As he reached his hat, the Batman ride came barreling towards him at 50 miles per hour and ended up decapitating him instantly. Next, in 2013, 22-year-old Kyle Lee Stocking and his 5 friends saw a rope swing stunt on YouTube and wanted to recreate it. Everything was fine, but there was one fatal thing that they didn't check properly. The length of the rope was longer than the drop down, so when Kyle jumped, he plummeted straight into the ground, killing him instantly.
Ooh, man, people need to be careful, man, trying to recreate these YouTube stunts, man. You gotta understand, like, bro, behind the camera you can edit, do all sorts of things, so you don't know if it's real or not.
Hell in Different Religions, Part 2. Buddhism. In Buddhism, after you die, you can be reborn into one of the 6 realms of reincarnation. Which realm you'll be put into depends on your actions in your previous life. The lowest realm possible is the realm of Naraka, which is hell. There are different narakas you can be put into, it just depends on how bad you were in your previous life. Each of these narakas having vastly different punishments, and the climates in the different narakas can range from incredibly cold to boiling hot. But the time spent in naraka is never eternal. Once you've served your punishment, you'll be reborn once again. But the time one does spend in naraka can be hundreds of millions of years, or well beyond that.
100 million years in hell?
This man served 17 years in prison after being mistaken for someone that looked just like him. In 1999, Richard Jones was falsely accused and imprisoned for a robbery that happened at a Walmart in Kansas. A robber tried to snatch a purse from a woman in a parking lot, but this man was not Richard. It was a man who looked just like him and had a similar name as Richard. The person that they should have been looking for was this man named Ricky Amos. But unfortunately, an eyewitness at the Walmart identified Richard as a culprit and testified against him in court. Even though Richard had an alibi at the time of the crime, it wasn't enough evidence and he was put behind bars for a 19-year sentence. Richard tried to appeal, but nothing ever came out of it. Now, 16 years later, in 2015, other inmates began telling Richard that there was another inmate who looked just like him. Richard had a gut feeling, so he contacted his attorney, and when they put Richard and Ricky side by side, it was clear that they were identical and they might have made a mistake. 17 years later, Richard was finally released from prison when the witnesses said that they could barely tell the difference between the 2 men. After his release, Richard received a $1 million settlement by the state.
Nah, I ain't gonna need 1 million. I'm gonna need freaking 10 or 20, bro. 17 years in prison for a crime you did not commit because they look the same? Because the police didn't want to do their job, man? Whew. I couldn't even imagine that, bro. That long in prison for something you didn't do? How could that happen in this day and age?
Urban legends that ended up being real, part 28. The Dark Watchers. They are most commonly spotted in California. They are near the steep cliffs of Big Sur. They are described as shadowy figures that watch from a distance. One encounter comes from a lady named Clara Jenkins. She was a hiker who ventured into the hills alone in the early 2000s. She was determined to find the perfect spot to watch the sunset over the Pacific Ocean. She had hiked this trail many times before and thought little of the stories, but this time something was different. As she climbed a narrow path to reach the peak, she saw a tall, dark figure standing motionless ahead of her. She called out, but the figure didn't respond. The moment she tried to step toward the figure, a rush of wind blew through the trees and the figure was gone. Another story comes from 1982 when a local rancher named Thomas Holloway was working late into the evening, repairing a fence near the base of a ridge when he noticed something strange in the distance. Standing on the crest of the hill was a figure, tall and unmoving, staring down at him. Holloway, having grown up in the area, was no stranger to the folklore, but this was the first time he had seen the Watchers up close. That night, Holloway's dog disappeared without a trace. The next morning, he found strange markings around his property, deep scratches in the earth as if something had dragged itself across the ground.
These paintings are much more disturbing than they appear. This painting shows George Bush throwing a paper airplane at two Jenga towers that are knocked over. It clearly represents Bush's involvement in 9/11. But what's even scarier is that exact painting was found in Jeffrey Epstein's living room, who used to be friends with Bush. These are a series of paintings created by artist Louis Wayne back in the 1900s. They capture his slow descent into increasingly worse skin.
Here are 3 real ways to survive encountering your doppelganger. According to ancient mythology, doppelgangers are malicious entities that look and act exactly like us and seek to replace us in our own lives. The first thing you'll want to do to avoid having a run-in with your evil twin is to destroy or get rid of all of the mirrors in your possession. One of the most common tricks that a doppelganger will use to try and infiltrate a person's home is to impersonate their reflection, since they are capable of entering the mirror world. Unfortunately, you can't get rid of all of your reflective surfaces, but you don't have to make it easy for them. If you really need a mirror, buy one that's too small to crawl through. Secondly, if possible, you're going to want to try and build a very close relationship with the people around you, especially your family, as they are the people who are exposed to you the most. That way, when your doppelganger does find you, they'll be able to tell the difference and hopefully give you some forewarning. And above all, if you suspect that your doppelganger has located you, you're going to need to pay very close attention to your surroundings. Don't write off any details, no matter how small they may seem. If something feels off or out of place, they may already be inside. Comment if you think that you could outsmart your doppelganger and follow for more.
Hey, my family knows me. I can outsmart that doppelganger.
He must have been out of her head. Here it is.
You definitely saw something peeking out behind that corner. I don't know if that's edit or
You won't believe it.
Damn, man. Gotta find a part. The expert level, we know what this is.
Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew. Part 22. In the 18th century, you could bring your cat or dog to the London Zoo and actually pay your admission by feeding it to the lions. Bus seats are specifically designed so you can't tell how dirty they really are. When an octopus reproduces, it removes its penis and throws it at the female so she can impregnate herself, and then he grows back another one. Oysters are actually alive when they're served. They don't die until you eat them. In Australia, there's a plant called the Gimbi Gimbi, which has such a severe sting that when horses brush up against it, they actually throw themselves off a cliff because they would rather die than experience the pain. Live chat support agents can see what you type before they send it so they can reply quicker. Spider rain, yes, you heard me right, is a real and naturally occurring phenomenon.
A nurse put this
gonna do
dying
Spider
baby
Man.
beside her twin sister to say goodbye, but it's what happens after that will make you cry. Twin sisters Kyrie and Brielle Jackson were born in Massachusetts in 1995. They were born 2 months early, so they were struggling to breathe and stay alive. So they were put in separate incubators to make sure they would stay alive. As the days passed, Kyrie's condition got better while Brielle's got worse. She was turning blue and was just barely alive. Brielle was dying and the nurse was doing everything she could to help her, but it wasn't working. A few days later, the nurse decided it was finally time to let go. So she put Brielle beside Kyrie to say one last goodbye. But as she felt the presence of her twin sister, something amazing happened. The nurse couldn't believe it. Brielle began to breathe normally again and made a full recovery. This is Kyrie and Brielle today, happy and healthy.
That shows, I guess, the powerful bond of a sibling. That energy. As soon as he put her sibling next to her, man, she just immediately starting to get better. Those bonds are important. They're lifesavers. We just learned.
This is why you need to be careful with dating apps. On November 15th, 2017, 24-year-old Sydney Louvre decided to meet Bailey Boswell in person after speaking on Tinder for a few days. For their first date, Bailey invited Sydney to come over to her apartment that she shared with her boyfriend Aubrey Trail. 24 minutes after Sydney arrived to the apartment, her phone was turned off and Bailey and her boyfriend Aubrey murdered her and chopped her body into 13 pieces using a saw. This attack was planned by the couple for a while, and there's even surveillance footage of them going into Home Depot and buying the saw and cleaning supplies. They then scattered Sydney's remains along the roads in Clay County, Nebraska, and it was found 3 weeks later. Investigators later found out that the couple talked about gaining power by committing murders and making videos of them torturing people. At the end of it, Bailey was sentenced to life in prison and Aubrey was sentenced to death.
Be careful of those dating apps, man. Don't try to link up too
If
soon.
we're not alone, part 2. These are fossils recently discovered in Egypt, and what they show is terrifying. You can see when the fossils are placed together, they completely dwarf this human. What you're seeing is an ancient Egyptian demon of chaos called Apep.
Hello, my friend. What you're actually showing are whale fossils. Discovered in a place in Egypt called Wadi al-Thar, meaning Valley of Whales. Millions of years ago, this place was underwater, and so there's a huge concentration of whale fossils as well as the fossils of other creatures like sharks and turtles. Fossils in this location started being discovered about 120 years ago. But yeah, not quite an ancient Egyptian demon of chaos.
It's a whale fossil. He exposes the truth, man. I like him. Need more people like that, man. But that whale fossil was freaking, I mean, huge. Goes to show you the massive scale.
Don't watch this at night, you've been warned. This is the story of a video game called Sad Satan. This game is thought to have originated on the dark web. In the original game, supposedly found on the dark web, you walk down a hallway while horrifying images are shown to you. These images allegedly include things like CP, mutilated corpses, and other snuff content, and apparently even playing the original version of the game would destroy your computer because of all the viruses that it had attached to it. Now, nobody has found the original version of the game, and people aren't even sure it exists. But there is a, quote, clean version of the game that you can actually go and watch gameplay for.
Hell no. The title of that game is a
This
no.
mom with a giant belly thinks she's having twins, but then the doctors make a shocking discovery. Mike and Hannah were trying to have kids for so long, and after years of failing, her pregnancy test finally showed positive. Her belly was growing really fast, and after the first ultrasound, it turns out she was having twins. The couple was really happy all throughout the pregnancy until she was about to give birth. But a couple weeks before the babies were due, her belly really started hurting and her water broke. She was immediately rushed to the hospital where doctors made a shocking discovery. Before I tell you, do you want to get paid to literally just walk? Well, I found this app that pays you for every step you take. And today, I've already made 100 sweat coins. Press the link in my bio if you want to get paid too. When the doctors performed the C-section, it turns out she wasn't carrying twins, but she was actually carrying quadruplets. Mike and Hannah were so happy to be parents to 4 beautiful babies.
These are just some
quadruplets? And they didn't catch that? Ooh. Imagine that. The body's very mysterious.
Of the major changes for America that Trump made official yesterday. He signed an executive order reinstating the death penalty for any illegal migrant who commits a capital crime and anyone convicted of murdering a law enforcement officer. He declared a national border emergency, halting all illegal entry immediately, which also paves the way for US troops to be sent to the southern border. He delayed the TikTok ban by 75 days. He ordered 2 name changes, the Gulf of America and Alaska's Mount Denali to Mount McKinley. He officially signed Doge into existence, which is the new department led by Elon to cut government spending. He signed a mandate where all federal workers must work in the office, saying that over half of the 2 million federal employees either work regularly from home or are fully remote. He pardoned about 1,500 defendants charged in the January 6th attack on the US Capitol. He signed an order to restore freedom of speech in America and end government censorship. He reversed 78 Biden administration regulations, including pausing foreign aid, reversing the acceptance of gender identity, now only recognizing 2 genders, and the other is to do with the pandemic, and I can't even say it on here, otherwise the video will get censored. Go to my YouTube for that. He's removing America from the World Health Organization in 12 months, saying that they are ripping off the country and the United States will stop all financial contributions to their work. He withdrew America from the Paris Climate Agreement for the 2nd time, calling it an unfair, one-sided ripoff. I mean, that was just part of a much broader effort to roll back climate policy, because he also declared a national energy state of emergency, promising to fill up oil reserves and drill baby drill, and also cut off climate-related funding, which was approved under the Biden administration. And all of that was day one. So the question is, does this excite or scare you?
For hundreds of years, people in California have reported seeing these tall, dark figures standing on tops of mountains watching over people. These cloaked figures are called dark watchers. Most people see these figures and notice how tall they actually are. These guys mainly show up in the afternoon. Like it says in their name, these guys mainly just watch over people from a distance. These guys have been here for hundreds of years. Even the Spanish reported seeing them in the 1700s. The Spanish had a name for them. They called them Los Vigilantes Oscuros. When you translate that to English, they're called the Dark Watchers. So you might be asking, what do these guys even do? Well, like it says in the name, they mainly just watch. They don't attack hikers, they just stand there. People say that they are bad omens, and I don't know if I agree with that. While they're harmless, it's still kind of creepy knowing that these guys are just watching over you. What's even weirder is that if you try to go near it, they just completely vanish.
Imagine somebody just staring at you and not saying a word. That's
So it looks
very
like I might have
creepy.
been wrong about the Puniverse all along. When it was first initially announced, I thought the Puniverse had to do with all of these characters fighting one equal being or just unaliving people in general. I didn't know they were going to be fighting each other in some gauntlet-style horror movie. This photo was released yesterday, with the caption, "Place your bets," with Winnie the Pooh looking at Peter Pan. Of course, from Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2, and Peter Pan from Peter Pan Neverland Nightmare, with the title, Puniverse, Monsters Assemble. Now look, I could be completely looking at this wrong, but it looks like these two are either A, going to be teaming up, or B, they're going to be scrapping. Their universes may be colliding. So on one hand, you have all of the characters from Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2, Tigger, Piglet, Owl, and of course Winnie the Pooh, versus everybody over in Peter Pan Neverland Nightmares universe, which if you haven't seen the movie, you have Tinkerbell, Peter Pan of course, and Captain Hook. For some reason those odds don't make sense. You also have to take into account other characters that are going to be releasing later this year, with Bambi the Reckoning. Bambi's going to be in on that too. And finally Pinocchio Unstrung. Now we also got this list that was recently released. Some other movies that are going to be coming out. Maybe not this year, but in the universe itself. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 3, Awakening Sleeping Beauty, Alice and the Mad Hatter, and Snow White Returns. All from this picture, it looks like they're going to be fighting. Who are you putting your money on?
This is gonna be one big battle royale. What it seems like. I can't believe they made a cinematic universe out of that. It'd be one thing if it was actually like good legit, but people say those movies are horrible, bro. So, man, people try to make a cinematic
I sit with her
universe.
daughter for hours, comforting her in her grave. This is why you should always lock your doors. A man in Venezuela was woken up in the dead of night to a strange haunting whistle. At first, he thought it was his mind playing tricks, but then he heard it again. Dragging footsteps echoed through the silence, creeping towards his room. But as whoever's outside arrives at the door, this happens.
tries to get inside. The man believes he was visited by El Silbón, a wandering spirit of death from Venezuelan folklore. Known to enter homes with open doors. The further it sounds, the closer he is.
What happened to Jelani Day? 25-year-old Jelani Day was a grad student at the Illinois State University. On August 24th of 2021, Jelani was seen on campus security footage, leaving abruptly after being on the phone. The car that Jelani would drive was a white Chrysler 300, and it was found 2 days later near a wooded area near the Illinois Valley YMCA, and it was about an hour north of the university. Inside of the car, they found the clothes that he was wearing, and immediately this raised suspicions of foul play. Just 9 days later, after his car was located, Jelani's body surfaced in the Illinois River. The coroner ruled his death as drowning, as there were no signs of injury or intoxication. However, Jelani's mother states that her son was an avid swimmer who would not have drowned himself. A second independent autopsy was done, and it revealed that Jelani's body parts and organs were missing, and some were described as mush and liquefied. About 6 weeks after Jelani's body was found in the river, a man who pulled over on I-55 noticed his shattered iPhone on the road. Police records show that Jelani's phone was turned off around 9:21 p.m. after he was seen at a local dispensary. His car was then captured on video driving away before the phone was tossed out onto I-55. Police claim they recovered 23 chat conversations, 17 messages, and 6 numbers of interest. Despite all of this information, authorities claim that there's no evidence stating that someone was with Jelani when he went missing or at the scene where he was found. As of right now, this case remains unsolved. Someone out there knows something, and for the sake of Jelani, I truly hope he gets the justice that he deserves.
Now that
That's just for
the
Jelani.
most terrifying character in the Puniverse as of right now. All of the characters from Winnie the Pooh, Blood Honey, and Winnie the Pooh, Blood Honey 2. Now, unfortunately, I can't show you the picture of Tigger, but you of course have Winnie the Pooh, Piglet, the Owl, and Tigger. Now, everybody thought Piglet was unalived in the second movie. Coming to find out, he is not and can regenerate. Kind of like Winnie the Pooh, because we all thought, and Christopher Robin thought, bro was done for. Of course, at the end of Winnie the Pooh, Blood Honey 2. Coming to find out that he is still alive, and so is Piglet. But I'm gonna be honest, Owl has acid breath, and of course can fly because he's an owl, and Tigger is just devious. We also have the characters from the newest release of Peter Pan Neverland Nightmare, being Peter Pan, Tinkerbell, and of course Captain Hook. Now I'll be honest, the scariest one out of all of them is probably Captain Hook. We didn't see much of him in the movie, but when we did, bro was catching bodies. I guess you can also factor in Peter Pan because of the fact that he thinks he's doing something good by sending those kids to Neverland. And then you have the two characters who still don't have movies yet but are going to be releasing later this year, being Bambi from Bambi and the Reckoning, and Pinocchio from Pinocchio Unstrung. I'm gonna be honest, out of this whole entire list, who do I fear the most? I'm gonna go with Tigger. If you've seen Winnie the Pooh, Blood Honey 2, you know bro was devious. Things he was saying, it was giving art to clown. But a close second is probably Peter Pan, because he can just justify whatever he's doing in his own head and make him think that he's right. Like and follow for more, because we're back.
Normal-looking photos that have a disturbing backstory. Part 27. This photo shows an elderly couple doing the hokey pokey with a man named Dennis Rader, also known as the BTK Killer. He installed alarms for a living, and ironically, many clients booked his services to prevent him from entering their homes.
Whoa.
This photo shows Luchadora Juana Barraza. She was sold to a man for 3 beers by her mother until her stepdad found her at age 17. Over the years that followed, she would strangle and rob over 45 old women that reminded her of her abusive mom. The man in the background is Christopher Wilde, aka the Beauty Queen Killer. This picture was taken on June 15th, 1984, and Chris is scouting future victims at a beauty pageant. This photo shows John Edward Robinson holding a baby girl named Tiffany. Just 1 day before this photo was taken, he murdered the baby's mother and gave Tiffany to his brother, saying that she was adopted. His brother, along with Tiffany, didn't find out the truth for 15 years.
Those photos telling the truth.
Crawler. It was taken by a family who caught him in their home in 1974, but he escaped shortly afterwards.
What?
So in 1974, the Johnson family in Cincinnati noticed a couple weird things happening in their home. The 14-year-old daughter, Claire, would complain about seeing glowing eyes outside of her window at night. And then one night, the youngest son, Timmy, was laying in bed in the dark when he felt the family dog jump up onto his bed. But when he went to go pet it, it was not the dog. It was the Crawler, who police still believe was responsible for the disappearance of 4 other boys in the area. Some believe that he was an escaped convict, while others actually believe that he was the victim of human experiments happening in the area that may have been conducted by the family's dad. Claire snapped this photo of him before he escaped, but he was never found since.
He sure looks like a human experiment. That's for sure. What do you guys think?
The man guilty of killing 8 people. 7 of those people were her family members, and 1 was a random stranger just minding his own business. for a total of 8 people dead in 3 separate locations.
3?
This happened in Joliet, Illinois. They thought all of these shootings were random at first, but one common thing was his red Toyota Camry with the same license plate at every single scene of the crime.
Targeted?
On Monday, officers announced that a manhunt was launched for Romeo Nance. They also put out a warning that he is armed and dangerous. However, later that night, the news definitely changed when they found this information out. Nance was spotted in Texas, over 1,200 miles away from Illinois. He died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. He was also charged with aggravated discharge of a deadly weapon against a woman a few years ago also. But he got out on bond in 2023. Many residents in the area were frightened by this. They all also thought this was a random string of crimes as well. Very unfortunate story. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. To kill 8 people, mainly family members, is just absurd. Very unfortunate loss of life. And reminder, these videos for informational purposes only.
Blood-curdling facts
what was
that
the
you
purpose?
wish you never knew. Part 22. In the 18th century, you could bring your cat or dog to the London Zoo and actually pay your admission by feeding it to the lions.
What?
Bus seats are specifically designed so you can't tell how dirty they really are. When an octopus reproduces, it removes its penis and throws it at the female so she can impregnate herself, and then he grows back another one. Oysters are actually alive when they're served. They don't die until you eat them. Live chat support agents can see what you type before they send it so they can reply quicker.
What the?
Spider rain, yes, you heard me right, is a real and naturally occurring phenomenon.
What creeped you out the most? What's up there? What the fuck?
We need to talk about one of the...
We saw that, right? We all saw that sequence. There was something that flashed, but they ain't see. You always gotta double check your work, man.
worst accidents that ever happened on a horror film set, because I don't really see this moment talked about much. So this accident happened on the set of The Exorcist, which is already a movie that plenty of people think was cursed, hence why I did a whole episode about it. But in the movie, Linda Blair plays this little girl named Reagan who was possessed by a demon. And the way that the film shows you that she's possessed are by these contraptions that they built for her. This is one that makes her levitate, but there was also this one that made her thrash around. To use this device, Linda had to be sewn into a plank, that way her back was supported while it was thrashing around. And mind you, the people controlling this device were adult men, and Linda was a child. So during one take, Linda actually became untethered from this device, meaning that her back was no longer supported. And you can see it in this take, but watch as she starts crying after the director calls cut. That's because Linda had just broken her spine. The director and the other adults in the room all thought that she was acting up a storm when in fact her screams and cries were from her spine being fractured. Anyways, that's only one of the many wild things that happened on this set.
Here are a few of the worst mechanophobia images I've ever seen. Part 3. This is apparently real. I don't know where it is. Apparently it's in Italy, or it looks like it's in Italy. I might be completely making that up. But here's it from another angle. Could you imagine swimming in a boat and seeing that? I don't know how deep it is underwater. I don't know if it's held up by pipes. I don't know if it's held up by scaffolding. I don't know if it's just the whole arm. I don't know if it's a whole sculpture. Terrifying.
It is. I wonder how deep in water that is, like what she said. Just seeing hands out of nowhere, that would freak anybody out.
This very strange video is circling the internet. It was supposed to be this very strange phenomena happening in the middle of the ocean. A couple of people inside of a boat captured it on camera. I'm going to show you guys the entire video.
Okay.
Some people are relating this to underwater volcanoes, but I'm not exactly sure if this is the case. I'm going to show you guys the video. You tell me what you think is going on here. Check this out.
What are we seeing? What the hell is that?
Pay attention, look at the size of this thing.
That's what we're examining? Is that really an underwater volcano? It's just sprouting up? Why this ain't making national news or something?
Look at this over here.
That's concerning.
What's going on here, guys? What is your take?
What do you guys think? Down below.
Let's talk about this picture. This is why if I ever have kids, I'll never let them use the bathroom alone. A 7-year-old girl and her mom were headed to Target, and she was getting some clothes for school.
Okay.
Her mom also wanted to grab some snacks for movie night. So while her mom went to go grab popcorn and other snacks, she told her daughter to go pick out clothes for school. When her daughter finally finished and picked out the clothes, she went up to her mom and said something strange happened. A sad pale lady had came up to her, telling her that she wished she could have her own daughter that looked just like her. The mom, who thought the daughter was just joking around, laughed it off and said, "Let's go." While heading to the register, the daughter shook her mom and said, "That's the lady who told me she wanted a daughter just like me," pointing at a mannequin. The mom laughed, thinking the daughter was still being silly. You know how kids have wild imaginations, always playing around. While at the register, the daughter had to go to the bathroom, so the mom told her to hurry up. It was only a couple hours down, by the way. While in the bathroom, the daughter texted the mom saying the pale lady's in here who wanted a daughter. The mom, trying to get in a rush back home to her other kids, said, "Hurry up, we have to go. Stop playing around." 10 minutes later, and the daughter never came out. The mother, who was waiting outside the bathroom at this time, rushes in the bathroom to see what the heck is going on. The daughter was nowhere to be found. She even checked the stalls to see if her daughter was hiding, standing on a toilet or something. On one of the stalls, she found her daughter's cell phone on the floor. By the way, if you made it this far in the video, comment down below your favorite fruit. Mine is mangoes. When she checked her phone, this was the last image found in it. Police still to this day have no explanation on what happened to that little girl.
Did you guys know that
The hell
mermaids
happened?
exist? So this tall drink of water is a fisherman off the coast of Massachusetts. And on his travels, he likes to document the things that he sees out in the ocean.
Alright.
What he catches this night is irrefutable evidence of the existence of mermaids. Okay, I'm just kidding. It's not irrefutable evidence, it's just very strong evidence of the existence of mermaids. Check it out.
It's keeping up a mind.
Another one over here? What are those?
Oh, we definitely see something swimming alongside him in the water.
What the fuck's going on?
Whoa.
On each side of the boat? What are those trails? What's something swimming fast underneath that water? Something swimming real fast underneath that water. I hear him. Where's he at? What the fuck is that noise, bro?
Is that the siren song they sing?
What is that noise? Where are you? This is crazy. I heard it. I heard it.
We hear that.
Oh my god. That's crazy. That's
Jump?
Here's some of the greatest conspiracy theories of all time. Part 4. The Grinch has a well-known backstory about hating Christmas. However, eventually in the movie, his heart grows 3 sizes and he loves Christmas once again. But this story may continue longer than we think. It is clear that the Grinch isn't exactly right in the head, but during one of the Grinch's wacky stunts, he could have gotten a head injury. This injury would later take a toll on him as he grew old and caused him to lose his memory. After him and his dog died, they were given a new life in a realm called Halloween Town, where they now lived as Jack Skellington and Zero. He later reunites with his love for Christmas, just like he had when he was alive. Both eventually wear a Santa suit, both deliver presents, and both have a dog companion. It may be possible that How the Grinch Stole Christmas and The Nightmare Before Christmas are tied together.
Are they connected? I never even thought about it like that before. Interesting theory. We're definitely going to have to check that out, man. They have some similarities. Can't lie. That's an edit. Call it like I said.
This pastor is being accused of unaliving his own wife. This case is currently ongoing, but it's been so highly suggested, so this is what we know so far. On April 28th, Pastor John Paul Miller made the shocking announcement at the end of his church service that his wife, Micah, had unalived herself. He then asked everyone to leave quietly and not discuss his wife's death. Micah's family and friends do not believe this cause of death and have taken to social media with the hashtag Justice for Micah. John Paul also wrote Micah's obituary, where he talked mostly about himself, not even Micah, who was the one that passed away. He also painted their marriage as like a perfect relationship, which is really odd considering that Micah filed for divorce and a restraining order against her husband only days before her passing. The weeks prior to Micah's passing, she was sharing on Facebook about abusive relationships and really just hinting that something wasn't right. A friend of Micah's has come out and confirmed that Micah told her that there was abuse in the marriage, and also that church funds were being used for things not church related. And since, more friends and family of Micah have come out with similar accounts. Also been some speculation that John Paul was having an affair, a years-long affair, with this woman that he's been seen in the days before and the days after Micah's death. That woman's husband also passed away in a really suspicious way, but that's just online speculation for right now. The investigation is currently ongoing, so hopefully we have answers really, really soon. But in the meantime, make sure to leave all your thoughts, theories, questions, and case suggestions in the comments for me.
She went on Instagram Live and did something so evil that by the end of it, he took his own life. This is the worst thing an influencer has ever done, and I'm giving you the whole story. Hang on. 100,000 people tuned in to watch trans beauty influencer Sophia Talouni go live. Then she invited one of her fans to join and asked if he was gay. And in Morocco, being gay is very dangerous. He said no. Then she showed screenshots of him on Grindr, a dating app for gay men. She said if he doesn't recognize himself, she would show more revealing pictures. So he said he was gay and quit the live. Then she told everyone on the live to download Grindr and look for their sons and husband. And men began disappearing. They were beaten up by their families, and at least 2 people, including this young man, took their own life. But isn't Sophia trans? Her family rejected her, and she wants others to experience it too. Instagram deleted her account, but she was never punished in any other way.
That's a messed up story.
Imagine living with a dead body for 5 months. It was March 2011 in Penwortham in Lancashire. Police received a very strange anonymous tip-off which led them to a local house in the area. There they discovered 54-year-old former lorry driver Guy Blackburn lying deceased in a bed. The man was taken away from the property to undergo a post-mortem. It was clear, however, that he'd been dead for a very long period of time. Now, Guy had been living at the property for a long time, but his health had recently been worsening. He became so unwell that he was unable to leave the property at all. Neighbours got worried about Guy after they hadn't seen him in a few months. Guy was living with his son, 28-year-old Christopher. Now, Christopher was actually a dad to a 10-year-old daughter of his own. Christopher had told his daughter that her granddad was simply asleep. Neighbours would ask Christopher how his dad was, to which he replied, yeah, he's fine. However, they began to get suspicious. The post-mortem came back and confirmed that Guy had actually passed away due to heavy drinking and heavy smoking.
What the
He'd been deceased since around November 2010. Christopher admitted to living in the house with his dad's dead body. He said he did this in order to claim benefits. He claimed income support and was withdrawing money out of his dead dad's bank account. By the time he was caught, he had claimed nearly £2,000. He admitted to preventing the lawful burial of his dad and stealing money, and he was jailed for 3 years.
Why aren't more people
Just
talking
for money,
about
man.
the huge updates
Evil.
in the Laken Riley case, y'all? Check this out. Clark County Sheriff's Office released the mugshot of this guy, Jose Antonio Ibarra. He's a 26-year-old guy that's being held on charges in the red room of this girl right here, 22-year-old Laken Riley. And in case you don't know, she was a nursing student in Georgia, and her body was actually discovered in like a forested area behind Lake Herrick. One of the craziest parts about this case too is that there appears to be no motive. And Jose here apparently didn't even know Laken at all, which is really scary because investigators are saying that it looks like it was just a crime of opportunity. And it doesn't stop there. Apparently Jose isn't a U.S. citizen, and he never even attended the University of Georgia. And if you thought I was done there, you'd still be mistaken, because apparently his brother here, Diego, was arrested for having a fake green card. Diego here says he is too afraid to return to Venezuela, so the Department of Justice is actually keeping him in state custody, and he's awaiting an asylum hearing. Y'all, this case is crazy as hell. Leave a like, follow if you like true crime, and leave some comments. Y'all, let me know what you think about this one. I'll catch you guys on the next one.
Some twists and turns, man.
What are you doing? Dad? What are you doing?
So just like the caption says, that girl gets locked in the basement by her father. That father does so many sick and twisted things to his daughter that you would never believe that this was actually based on a true story.
Come again?
That movie is called A Girl in the Basement, and it's available right now at mylifetime.com/watchripped, so go ahead and watch it. It's so disturbing, but it's such a great movie that you need to watch it. Thank you, Lifetime, for sponsoring this video.
You guys gonna check that out? Those crime movies, man. All this media and stuff we're watching that based on true stories. We just gotta open our eyes to it and pay attention.
This woman laid on a couch for 12 years until she was basically melted to it. So have you ever heard of Lacy Fletcher? Lacy's parents were Sheila and Clay Fletcher. They moved to Slaughter, Louisiana about 28 years ago. As soon as they moved to Louisiana, Lacy became involved in her school. She was making friends with all the neighbor kids. She liked to go outside and play. She even joined the volleyball team and seemed like the typical teenager.
Okay.
Lacy was described by her peers as highly intelligent, but a little bit immature for her age. Lacy really enjoyed things that her peers thought of as childish. But she was still very smart and very outgoing, but not much else is known about Lacy. At the age of 14, Lacy's parents decided to homeschool her, and that's when she just kind of disappeared from the public. Her friends from school and the neighbor kids just stopped seeing her come out as much as she used to. And it kind of seemed like Sheila and Clay were the reason that Lacy was being so isolated. They were the reason that she no longer went out into public. She was able to have a birthday party when she turned 18 years old, and she invited all of her school friends and just friends to come watch Disney movies, but at this point, these kids were 18 years old. They didn't want to sit around and watch Disney movies with her. The last time Lacy was seen in public was by her neighbor in 2007.
Damn.
This neighbor thought that Lacy looked very thin, but he just figured that she was exercising because she was using those weights that you can put around your ankles to walk around. And then Lacy is not ever seen again in public. In 2017, the neighbor did ask about Lacy, figuring that she had either gotten married or moved on, gone to college, or done something else with her life. But Clay told him that Lacy was still there, she was still at home. But the neighbor didn't press further. He didn't question why he didn't see her. He just kind of let things be.
Okay.
Then on January 3rd of 2022 at about 2 in the morning, there is a 911 call received from Sheila. Sheila says that her daughter has stopped breathing. When emergency services arrived, they realized that there was something very wrong with the situation. Lacy was laying on the couch, and it almost seemed like she had melted to it. She had all kinds of sores that had been opened all the way down to the bone. Her hair was knotted up, and there were maggots crawling around in it. And emergency services could tell that Lacy had been laying there for a very, very long time. There were feces and there was urine all over the couch.
Things humans were never meant to see.
The hell are they doing to her, man?
Man transforms into real werewolf.
We believe in werewolves, or is this just gonna be a edit? Go. I think this would be all over the internet, or if we've seen a real werewolf. If this turns out to be legit. Okay, we know this is Etta, right? Every single time he changes, it's like we can't see his face though. That's a high freaking quality edit. His name is Josh Rushing? Yeah, that's an edit. No, it ain't.
No human responses were elicited from the subject. However, he remained mostly calm throughout the night, growling only when approached. He seemed more afraid of us than we were of him.
This is Funky Town, one of the worst cartel execution videos explained. Okay, before I begin, this is a massive trigger warning. The video begins in some sort of room and there is music playing. The first song that plays is Sweet Child of Mine by Guns N' Roses, and the camera pans to the victim tied on the floor with some plastic wire, but the torture already began before the video starts. Because the victim looks like he already went through complete brutality. His hands have already been cut off and his face has been completely flayed, which means skinned. There is no skin on the victim's face at all, and his eyes have been gouged out. And there's an insane amount of blood on the floor. But the most messed up part is about this is that the victim is hooked up to some sort of IV, and the IV is pumping him with drugs to keep him alive and aware, making sure he felt everything happening to him. At the start of the video, they try and slit his throat with a sickle and press it against his jaw. But when the victim begins to scream, they shove a box cutter in his mouth to shut him up. His screams are absolutely gut-turning. They kept going from screaming to gurgling, from screaming to gurgling. And as the video progresses, they take the box cutter and slit his throat about 40 times. And keep in mind, the victim is still alive and aware of everything because of the drugs they are giving him to keep him alive. Also, the killers are mocking and laughing at the victim the entire time. They continue to try and slit his throat with the box cutter and were going at his neck numerous times, all while the song Funky Town was playing in the background, hence the name of the video. The killers kept having to physically restrain the victim, meaning there was still a lot of life left in him, and the amount of pain he had to be in is completely unimaginable. At one point in the video, a man had his foot on his chest holding him down, and another time they had shoved a pole in his mouth holding him in place. But the worst part about the video is towards the end, where the victim manages to loosen his arms from the restraints and immediately tries to touch his face. But remember, the victim has no face at all, no hands, and no eyes. But instinctively, the victim still tries to touch his face. It's absolutely horrifying, and the video then concludes. Keep in mind, the victim was still alive when the video ended, so who knows what else they did to him before he died. Because they were literally keeping him alive just to torture him. This victim went through so much pain and torment, and you can make an argument that nobody has ever been tortured as bad as this guy ever. I explain this based off pure memory from the first time I saw the video, because I won't dare watch it again because it's that gruesome. Everybody who saw videos like this always say Funky Town is the worst of the worst. And I honestly think that might be true, so please don't watch it and please don't see.
A young girl opens the door to see Santa Claus, but it appears there's something under his outfit. She assumes that it's presents for her and the rest of her family, so she runs to give him a hug, but is instead shot in the face with a 9mm bullet. The man dressed as Santa, 45-year-old Bruce Pardo, proceeds to kill 9 of her family members and set the house on fire with a gift-wrapped flamethrower. Bruce's divorce had been finalized 1 week before the massacre, and the house he burned down was where his ex-wife and her family were celebrating Christmas. He had no criminal record and no past history of violence, and following the attack, Bruce drove to his... I've done the full breakdown of the case here, and it is haunting.
That's madness.
Do not watch this video unless you have a very strong stomach. This case is truly sickening.
On August the 31st, 2019, Margaret Sumney was unreachable. Her family knew something was wrong. They tried and failed to get hold of her for 2 days before notifying police to ask them to do a welfare check. When police went to her house in Pennsylvania, what they discovered was horrifying. They found shattered glass all over the floor and blood smeared on the walls. They found the 67-year-old's body in the bath. She'd been beaten to death. The autopsy revealed that she died from blunt force trauma to the head. Police interviewed her son David, who initially denied having anything to do with her death. However, police searched his phone and found absolutely disgusting images. They uncovered 277 sickening pictures, including selfies of David with her body, his face smeared in her blood, and doing a thumbs up pose. Police also discovered that David was in possession of his mum's jewellery and several blank cheques. He also had a record of previously assaulting his mother twice and attacking his now deceased father once. The same year as his mum's murder, he allegedly waterboarded and strangled his ex-girlfriend in an Atlantic City hotel. It's reported, though, that he just slipped through the cracks in the police databases, allowing him to go on to offend again. He was soon arrested, and it was found that when he'd committed the murder of his mother, he'd taken a large amount of Adderall. His defense argued that he had diminished responsibility due to his substance and alcohol use. Originally, he was facing charges of first-degree murder and abuse of a corpse. However, due to a legal loophole, he entered a guilty plea, so he would only be charged with third-degree murder. He was sentenced to 20 to 40 years in prison. Terrifyingly, as he's now been in prison since 2019, and due to his good behaviour behind bars, he could be released in just 17 years.
Come on, man. Now he's about to get early release for good behavior. That the police, man, would have just followed up on it and then let him slip through the cracks. Maybe it wouldn't have happened. One person mistake. Snowballed to just a whole colossal mess, man. He kept doing it again after again. System, man.
Craziest crimes of all time, Part 1. Travis Clark, a priest at a Catholic church in Louisiana, was recently arrested on charges of vandalism. And by vandalism, I mean that he did it with 2 dominatrixes on top of the altar. And according to recent reports, the altar has since been burned by the church. At least they were adults. William Dennis Bradley, a meth addict, murdered a man, and when arrested, told authorities that he had just killed the Terminator, and that they should be grateful. A Florida man was arrested for throwing an alligator through a Wendy's drive-through window. You know, I actually have a joke for this one, but it's kind of corny. See you later, alligator! A woman in Texas was arrested after trying to buy a mother's infant child for $500,000 in a Walmart checkout line. $500,000? Are you kidding me? Thank God my parents weren't offered. Hello? Hey mom, what's up? You have to tell me something? Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
She really offered to buy somebody's baby for $500K, bro? There's better ways, man. Adoption, like, but try to buy somebody's baby off them in a Walmart line. That's just menace activity right there. That man threw an alligator through a Wendy's drive-through. Man, Florida residencies, people, man, they're a different type of breed, bro. Throwing an alligator through a drive-through window. That's not even Black Air Force energy. That's something else, man. I couldn't imagine seeing that. I wouldn't believe it until I heard the story.
Some creepy shit you will see on a Ring camera. I'm so glad I have mine.
Trying to get in. Oh, somebody was following them. Try to get in. Those ring cameras come in handy. What the? Just exploded out of nowhere, man. Hey, get a ring camera. It'll save your life.
I've been ghost hunting for the last 10 years. Sometimes things happen that you can't fully explain. This journey that I'm on is for knowledge, not for fame. And we've put ourselves on the line many times in the quest to get those answers. I've made a lot of friends along the way, and worked with some of the world's most renowned paranormal experts. But sometimes, things happen that still scare me. I didn't realize what was gonna happen that night. I didn't fully understand what we were dealing with. But it turns out it was darker and more powerful than we could have imagined. And it still scares me.
I'd like to welcome you all officially to the West Virginia State Penitentiary.
So this is where the electric chair would have been?
Yes. He partially castrated himself in there. His head exploded like a pumpkin.
Ooh.
That's a good start for your night, Darren. That was the room that was known more infamously as the Sugar Shack. They take his severed head, set it up in the window.
Tonight on the Paranormal Files, we're at one of the most violent places in America. This is a historic prison with an extremely bloody past.
Are you in front of us? We'd love to have you come and talk to us.
It's like it's climbing the fence. Oh, I feel like cold, dude. Locked. Oh. All right, down to the hole. Let's do it.
There's some brave people. I can't do it, man. The most haunted prison in America. They all the equipment. They give me like a final monologue, like it was the boss battle at the end of a game. That's insane, man. Them checking out the Paranormal Files. Should I check out that video of them ghost hunting? Man, so I'm watching these clips together with you guys, bro. Man, y'all believe in ghosts? Or that type of energy? We might have to check that out with you guys. Seekers, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker, seeking the truth. I greatly appreciate the support. Make sure you guys leave a thumbs up in this video. Comment down below as well. Also, don't forget to hit that post notification bell, so you always get notified when I upload my next videos. You guys are going to catch you in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.